Hello and welcome to Co-Opticast episode 80 for January 30th, 2012. My name is Locke. I'll be your host this evening. I'm joined by three of my best friends, three of my best co-op buddies. Let's go around the table. We have one, Jason Love.
Hello, everyone.
And to my right, in the old Northwest, we have Mr. Mike.
Hello.
I'm not even going to attempt to pronounce your last name.
It's okay. You're Canadian.
Yeah. It's a pleasure to be here. And last but certainly not least, our fearless leader, Mr. Nicholas Puello.
So you butchered my last name then, huh?
Yeah, I did that on purpose.
That's how they pronounce it up there.
Yeah.
Puello.
That's the Canadian
Puelos.
pronunciation.
So we're going to be talking about some games, take you through some important news that we thought that should be highlighted this week, as well as a possible special topic that we'll be discussing. So yeah, stay tuned for that. But anyways, let's dive right into it. And Mike, why don't you take us through what you have been playing?
Recently I've discovered I have a serious problem, and I started playing Skyrim again. You know, not putting it down and picking it back up. I started over.
What?
With a different character.
And I think there's an
it's a sickness,
for that.
really. it's kind of like Skyrim is going to be my Dark Souls. You know,
you're doing it wrong, man.
Dark Souls should be your Dark Souls.
Now,
yeah, there's no new game plus in Skyrim,
That's
which is
true.
sad. But yeah, I've been playing in a very different play style than I was going the time before, where I was a spell slinging, conjured sword swinging thief, and now I'm basically a paladin, I guess. I do a lot of holy, or not holy magic. This isn't WoW. I do a lot of restoration, cleansing and healing, and then I just bash people to death with my shield and a one-hander.
Oh, I was gonna say dual shield.
I wish you could dual shield. When you level up your shield in that game, it's actually amazing. You know, you get time will slow down as an enemy does a power attack, so you can do a counter attack or stun them in the middle of their swing. And my favorite is when you time slows down and you get an instant kill, or you just flat out decapitate them in the middle of their power swing. I'm a big fan of that.
Nice.
And so I've been playing an awful lot of that, and I have been playing the Resident Evil Revelations demo.
Is that the title? Isn't that the?
I'm not sure that's the title.
I think that's the working.
Revelaitons.
Yeah, why don't you show us what that is?
I believe in the French it's
Revelations. Our review copy came in the mail, and it has a typo there. I don't know if you can see it.
Revelate.
Yeah, that's not how that's spelled. But hey, so I'll be digging into that and turning in our review.
And they dropped the price of that too.
They did.
Maybe because they spelled it
because
wrong.
of the typo.
No, they did. They somehow discovered how to make 4 GB cards not cost as much as a 4 GB card should, or so they say. I'm thinking Capcom decided that they would not sell as many copies of a $50 handheld game in the world that we live in with 99-cent and free apps on the competing platforms.
They got to do something.
Well,
or
there's that.
die.
Yeah, but the demo, I'm actually really looking forward to digging into it, because the demo is actually amazing, and it works really. It's one of the. I think it might be the first game, or it's one of the first games that's going to use the dual analog attachment, the Circle Pad Pro, if you will, and But the demo, it played extraordinarily well with just one analog stick, so I'm really looking forward to digging into it.
Nice.
And it looks better than any portable game I've ever played. Although once we all get our hands on Vitas, we'll probably be backing out of that statement.
Yeah. And when does Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Jay.
So I was going to feeling that the probably price decrease also has something to do with. I can't remember the name of it now. There's some like business term for it. It's like the Ozarks effect, where when you announce new stuff before your current stuff has hit the market yet, it like devalues it because people are like, why am I going to get this now when there's something better coming in a few months? And they've got like they got like 3 Resident Evil games coming out now.
Yeah, that's weird.
Yeah, it's true. It could be part of it. I honestly, I think that they just saw a lot of people complaining that it was going to cost $50, and they decided that taking a price hit was better than not selling any copies of the game.
And every typo is $10 off. So
that's right.
The typo discount.
So yeah, that's basically what I've been doing. That and working on a project with Nick.
Nice. Secret projects of world
Secrets.
Of world domination. Well, that's great. I'm sorry that you have subjected yourself to so much Skyrim, but
what?
Well, you leave Demon Souls unplayed, sitting there. It's weeping. It wants you. It's like that succubus telling you to come back, and it's gonna steal your soul.
I already played Catherine. Oh shit!
Oh, wait.
Spoilers.
Uh-oh.
Oh no!
I'm gonna edit that. All right. Well, let's look to the east, and Nick, why don't you take us through what you've been doing, Mr. Gangsta?
Yeah, that's pretty much all I've been playing is Saints Row the Third. I've got.
Isn't it great?
It is. Yeah, it is by far the best open world game to date. It even tops like Crackdown, I think, in terms of my favorite open world games.
And that last mission,
ladies and gentlemen, these are strong words coming from Nick, because
yeah.
Crackdown. Nick loves Crackdown so much that one time in an IM conversation, I said, "You know what? I don't actually own a copy of Crackdown." And Nick's next reply was, "Oh, it'll be there on Tuesday."
Oh wow!
He just one-clicked that shit to me.
Yeah, I had to remedy that problem for Mike. But yeah, Saints Row the Third, there's just so much variety and so much character to the game. It held my interest. I think my counter's at about 24 hours. I completed every side mission, with the exception of a few like the gang hideouts. It's so over the top, and there's some lines when you meet the mayor. There's a couple lines after that are just, I mean, absolutely priceless.
I think my favorite thing about that game was the tiger appreciates fast but safe driving.
Yeah.
That was like one of the moments of the game for me. Well, that and the judicious use of "We Need a Hero."
Yes.
Yeah.
So the
Nick,
license
I gotta correct your tweet there too. It's not Short Circuit. It's Short Circuit 2 that makes use of that.
Was it in Short Circuit 2? I couldn't remember.
It was Short Circuit 2 because I remember fondly that from a childhood when Johnny Five gets all punked out with like a nail row mohawk and a bandolier of aluminum cans.
Yeah.
And goes and blows up some boats.
But even so, like there's like they used it, deliberately there at the end of the game. But there's other times when it would come on the radio and you'd be doing something, and it just fit what was going on so well, and like you can't help but like laugh and smile. And
I think that game deserves just some recognition in general for the fact that every time it used a licensed song for something in the game, it was amazing.
Yeah.
Like jumping out of the helicopter onto the penthouse with Kanye West's Power playing, or during the Tiger mission when it has you're the best around.
Yeah.
And of course the moment at the very beginning of the game when you're hanging out with Pierce and you guys both sing the entirety of Sublime's "What I Got."
Yeah.
Which they recorded separately for the 8 different voice actors that can be your character.
That's pretty sweet.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it just went above and beyond, and they just did whatever they wanted. Like, if they were like, it'd be cool if we had laser guns in this, they put laser guns. It'd be cool if we had zombies, they put zombies. I mean, just like, whatever. They did not care.
You know what else that game did really well? Not to hammer the point too much, but I said they had 8 different voice actors for your characters, but it's amazing how the voice you pick for your character in Saints Row becomes like your reference point for that character.
Yeah, no, that's true.
I was the British dude, and I know a lot of people weren't. And they recorded entirely separate lines of dialogue for the different voice actors to react to situations differently. And it's just you don't do that in an open world game. There's too much going on, but they said screw it.
And there's a
Do
lot
it 8 times.
A lot of story missions and stuff too. Like that's a lot.
Yeah, because I was playing through and I had the subtitles on at one point, and my character's voice was like saying some things, and the subtitle was completely different, just like in all those martial arts films. And you're like, I don't think that's quite right.
That's interesting. So
Nice.
so I finally wrapped that up. I'm gonna go back and 100% it. I think I'm at 95%.
Wow.
So
Wow.
I
That's
very
crazy.
rarely do that.
See, the biggest difference I think about that game, and it sets itself apart from every other open world game of that nature, GTA, is that it makes all that side stuff fun to do and ridiculous to do, and makes you want to finish all of it instead of just being this huge grind. So
Yeah. I like how they have the different levels of difficulties in the side missions themselves. So it kind of helps it a bit. But anyway, it's enough fun. Saints Row the Third. It's just as fun in co-op. You can jump in anybody's game, get some more money and stuff, upgrade your dude. Good stuff.
get that paper. What else you been doing?
Make it rain.
Yeah. So then, also got a review copy of Soulcalibur V in, and decided, what the hell? I'll fire it up and check it out. So I've been putting some time into that.
How's Ivy looking these days?
Wait. What's your history with the Soulcalibur series?
I already went over this with him.
I mean, the only one I really put time in was the Dreamcast one. Like, that was the last one I significantly put time into.
That's just a good reference point for everyone, I think.
Yeah. The problem I have with it right now, and I just tell Mike, is, like, the AI is just incredibly cheap. And, like, you'll find yourself get knocked down, and you will not get up for the rest of the match. They'll just hack you on the ground until you're dead. And the other odd thing I found is, like, your attacks, like, some attacks look like they do a shit ton of damage, and it's like this much on the power bar. And then another attack, you'll like barely hit the guy and you lose half your health. And it just seems like kind of unbalanced in a way. But I mean, graphically it looks great. There's plenty of boobage, as Jason was alluding to with Ivy.
Right.
And the gratuitous ass shot as far as the
character creator, though, the character creator is really top notch. It's one of the better ones I've seen, especially in a fighting game. You can customize so many pieces of the character in terms of fighting styles and what they're wearing and colors of what they're wearing and how they move, and so that was pretty cool. But
is there a extra sort of adventure mode? I know they try and change it up with every Soulcalibur.
There's a story mode that it's kind of bizarre. Like, it almost doesn't make sense yet. I don't know if it's going to have like an epiphany moment, but that's. Yeah.
I doubt it.
But yeah, so it's really easy, but it breaks the story up between these like charcoal drawing cutscenes. It's not like rendered cutscenes. There's a couple rendered ones, but most of it is charcoal drawings, which is kind of bizarre. But then there's an offline mode, like an arcade mode. There's a challenge thing, and I guess the big draw is going to be, obviously, with fighting games these days, is online.
Yeah.
Good news, no online pass required. So props to Namco Bandai for that. But that's about it. Just been doing that and working on my games, which will be announced Wednesday.
Nice. So be on the lookout for that. It's got the Penguin's sealed stamp of approval. No, my experience with Soulcalibur is just it hasn't been the most technical fighter, and I play it actually mostly for the ridiculous nature of it and the awesome character creator, because you can do some pretty funny stuff. And
playing it really makes me want somebody to make a fighting game that's awesome, like weapon-to-weapon combat. Like, that's the entire focus. Not
2D or 3D.
Bushido Blade came out in the 90s, dude.
Yeah, that's true.
I'm trying. It's like, I want something like Prince of Persia's, like the original Prince of Persia's, like, combat, like, taken to the next level. Like, the sword fighting in that was always like very rewarding. if someone could take that and make a really good fighter around that kind of a style, I think it'd be
rewarding how though? Because it was basically just 2 polygon figures waving swords at each other
no,
until one of them fell over.
You would block and you could parry and you could knock them back. Like
you
there
were
was a whole
blocking and
system
you were parrying, but it was this.
I'm just trying to think. Yeah, Bushido Blade was the last good sort of weapon game I've played.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Oh well. Any new crazy weapons that you know of? I don't know if you can reference it at all.
Yeah, I wouldn't. The only one I know that's kind of weird is this giant like circle thing with these weird spikes that come off of it.
Oh, the hula hoop.
Hula hoop.
That came out in Soulcalibur 3.
Okay, yeah, I've never seen that one before.
That's pretty fun to do. Yeah. Does anyone use a Morning Star yet? I guess Ivy has her sort of her whip sword, but
yeah, I haven't seen one.
Anyways, cool. Jason,
best weapon. Oh, sorry. I was going to say
what's your best weapon?
At least in Soulcalibur 4, you could make the dancer and fight with tambourines.
That was Mike's favorite.
This is very true. This is
and they did this. And it was always best if you made like the beefiest looking male character you could possibly do.
Yeah.
And gave him tambourines and he danced very effeminately.
Yeah, I always went on to like forums and stuff and to find me like, oh sweet, this is how you build, the Joker, or like make popular characters and stuff, which is fun to take online and mess around with your friends. So, and they took out the Star Wars characters, which is great. So, anyways,
for now, DLC.
DLC is coming.
Isn't Ezio put in that game?
Yeah, Ezio is way cooler than, I guess not cooler, but maybe more appropriate than Darth Vader and Yoda, especially like
and the douche from Force Unleashed.
Sorry, who? No, I don't remember him.
Starkiller. Starkiller. He started the whole rebellion, don't you know?
Oh right.
Oh yeah, I forgot how that worked. It kind of intertwined with the Soulcalibur mythos.
The game that made me actually use my least favorite term, retcon.
Retconning, yeah. So right on. Jason, how about you? Turn things over.
I've been playing a whole lot more of Metal Gear Solid Peace Walker HD Remix, Refined,
Retread,
Transfarred, on the 360. It like on the PSP, it was a really fun game, and it was probably one of my favorite PSP games. And Mike and I were talking about how though the controls just didn't really help it that much because you had to use like the D-pad on the PSP in order to do aiming, and then use the thumbstick to move around, and just the way that it was configured.
You had to use this thing like a dual analog.
Yeah.
It didn't work.
Oh, gross.
Just did not work whatsoever. But since they ported it over and you now have 2 thumbsticks, I mean, it makes it a whole lot easier. It plays a whole lot better with that. The upscale to the graphics, I mean, PSP has pretty decent graphics, but the upscale of the graphics, kind of everything runs a whole lot smoother now. Yeah. And finding games is a whole lot easier, too, if you want to do some of the co-op missions, which, I mean, obviously.
How does, if you don't mind me asking, how does the, you remember the mode where you could recruit soldiers by hunting for Wi-Fi?
Yeah.
Do they even have that in this version?
They do, and what they did is, essentially, they tied it to how much you go online. So the more that you actually go and do, like, co-op missions or even the versus ops, the more that you'll recruit soldiers. Okay. So that's the way they changed that up, which I thought was an interesting way to kind of move that. Yeah.
Is the Monster Hunter stuff still in it?
Yeah, absolutely. I actually downed Rathalos today.
Dang it. I need to just go out and grab a copy of it. So
yes, you do.
Yeah,
we need to co-op that. Something fierce.
Yeah, that's on.
It's 4-player, right?
Some missions are 4-player. Some of them are 2. I mean, it bounces back and forth between that depending on what you're doing. But I mean, there are still like a ton of missions. All of the boss encounters are always 4.
How does the Monster Hunter stuff work?
It's like a secret unlockable. So one of the characters in the game, Chico, throughout the course of the game.
That's racist, bro.
Hey,
essay.
I said Chico. So he he's your go-to person for all the wildlife and stuff like that in the area, and so eventually you collect all these tapes from him, and if you listen to all the tapes and then go to the special, go to one of the extra missions, you can find the cat, Trinia from the Monster Hunter series, And once you find the cat, then that unlocks the Monster Hunter quest. And so they have basically specific monsters that you can fight.
Oh, wow.
There's Rathalos, Tigrex, and a couple of others I don't remember. Yeah. Snorlax.
Call me when there's Squirtle.
Now,
No, you gotta go against Squirtodon or whatever.
gross. Isn't that game, the single player stuff, like 30 or 40 hours? Like have you finished it?
It's pretty long.
Yeah, because here's the thing: is that the single player stuff. So the main missions that you go through, they have 4 chapters that you go through, and that's actually the game.
Right.
But once it goes through the credits, there's actually a 5th chapter that you can start playing. And the 5th chapter, like the missions for that, are actually kind of timed based off of how many of the other extra op missions that you do. So in the end, like if you just do the straightforward missions and just run through the game, it's probably about 10 to 15 hours because you have to do a little bit of like side stuff here and there.
Well, you have to backtrack a ton or grind out parts for the Metal Gear.
You don't have to, but you can.
Yeah.
I mean, it's going to help you later on, but
Zeke or whatever it was called.
Yeah, Metal Gear Zeke. So I mean, there's definitely some side stuff that you have to go through and do to complete the main part of it. But if you go on to do the last chapter, which, not to spoil anything that's over, but if you do the last chapter, it sets up basically the original Metal Gear. Like it kind of puts that whole thing into context and into play.
Cool.
So it's sort of worth going through the rest of it, which then kind of does pad it out to close to probably 20-25 hours by the time you get done with all the side missions and stuff that you got to go through. So
yeah,
I mean, there's plenty of. I mean, that's just like the main story. The unlockables and stuff that you can find there, they pretty much tossed in every single thing from all the different Metal Gears in there that they possibly could in terms of different unlocks that you could do. So it's ridiculous what you have to go through for a lot of that stuff. So lots to do, lots of fun, and that's why I haven't really been playing much else other than that.
Yeah, it sounds like a ton, man.
The only other thing has been Ascension on the iPhone with you and Mike and Mark.
It's a great game.
Who I always feel like sending Mark a text message being like, Mark, it's your move.
Mark, you're gonna get dropped from this game again. Mark.
Yeah, Ascension's really good, and I have no problem giving them money. I really hope they actually came out with another expansion.
Yeah, it just came out.
It's not on the iOS yet, but I saw it in the board game shop, and I didn't even realize they were making another expansion for it. So for deck building games like that, there's a nice balance between expansions. Like, I don't know if you guys have played Dominion, but there's like,
oh yeah, we played Dominion,
30 expansions for Dominion. So you don't need to go quite that
I just
far.
have the base box and call it good.
Yeah. Exactly. But yeah, no, Ascension's great. The guys who actually made Ascension are doing another game that I'm looking forward to called Summoner Wars. So I'm stoked to see that pop up, because they did good with Ascension, because that's my go-to game right now on the iPhone.
Yeah.
But anyways, I guess that leaves me. Quick thing, I finished Deus Ex Human Revolution finally.
Which button did you push?
All of them. I just mashed them. No. No, I went with the Serif button for those of you who have finished it. But basically, technology is great. Go nanomachines.
Yeah.
But yeah, super happy with that. Glad I'm done, though. It was long as hell, but satisfying. I got into The Witcher. I guess I figured I should play that game before playing the second one, because that's just how I am. And
it's not really necessary, but it gives you a good baseline.
Yeah,
and plus it's a damn awesome game.
And it's just a good game. So I'm not very far in it. I'm really looking forward to just sinking my teeth into that. What I have been spending most of my time with is, have you guys ever heard of or played Elemental, Stardock's last release?
Yeah.
I remember it had one of the most botched launches of any game in history.
Yeah. It's for those of you who haven't played, they basically had to rush it out before Civ 5 in order to get something on shell. Well, something it was all through Impulse.
Something on
a store, yeah. So they kind of they did botch it, and it wasn't exactly what they promised, and I was really hyped for the game because I saw it at PAX 2 years ago, and it was basically Gal Civ with more better customization and a fantasy theme, so and more RPG elements. So I was totally stoked and sold on it. Pre-ordered it, and then played it like 3 times just because it was super buggy. The user interface was terrible. It was just not great. And then Civ 5 came along and everyone forgot about Elemental. But they sent out this email about 3-4 weeks ago, and they're like, we know we fucked up, so here is the expansion for free. So they have given out the it's called Elemental Fallen Enchantress. They've been really vocal about it. The developers have blogged about it and had lots of journals, but they gave out, it's in beta right now, so they sent the beta. I installed it because I'm willing to give them the benefit of the doubt. And they have cleaned up the game so well, and I don't know what it was, whether they got new talent in or just had more time to polish it and let it cook, but anyways, I'm just super happy with it, and this is actually the game that Elemental was supposed to be, which is nice, which is really cool. And it's free for anyone that bought the game. They're giving it to you for free, and I believe they're giving a deal for people who buy Elemental right now. I think you might get it for free or you get it for cheaper, but so if you're interested, go to well, it's not Impulse anymore, it's GameStop's sort of digital download service. But yeah, they streamlined everything, so it's super simple, nice user interface. The combat is actually interesting. It's much more of a Heroes of Might and Magic feel to the combat. And then the thing that sets it's the question that everyone gives me when I talk about Elemental is, why would I play this over Civilization? And the only good answer I can give is it's an RPG. It has RPG stuff in it. It's half an RPG, but you're also doing all that kingdom management, which it's 2 of my favorite sort of genres combined. So how it works is, you have your hero, you create your guy, and that is who you carry throughout the whole area, and they explore the map. And you do get to build like peon units and armies, but it just has something different than Civilization. And I love Civ. I've played all of them, but Elemental is different enough that I think it warrants a purchase for people that are interested in either a good RPG, but mostly a nice sort of fantasy sim game. So
it's more of a 4X, right?
Yeah, definitely 4X. Yeah, you start out with a town, and then you send out your pioneers, and then you can win through diplomacy, or you can win through conquering or technology, so on and so forth.
I think I have the game, actually. I don't know if I ever really played it. I think I need to.
Well, I don't blame you, man. I do not blame, because I know I hyped up a ton of people, and it was super disappointing to see how it came out, because we were all really excited for the multiplayer in it, and it just kind of fell flat. But if you bought Elemental, go and install the beta right now. Trust me.
I wonder if it'll come out on Steam, because Stardock stuff's starting to come out on Steam. So
I hope so, because I like to keep everything in one place, but I don't know. For whatever reason, I have like 70 games on the Impulse because I bought one pack once, and I was like, shit, like I'm never gonna install those. What am I doing? But
that's every Steam sale ever.
But I
in 25 indie games for $10. Okay.
Yeah, I'm in. I'm set.
I'm not gonna play any of these, but all right.
I want just that one.
Yeah, sure. $3, I'm sold. But so that's what I sunk most of my time into. It's again a warning. It is just one more turn game. You will be playing well into the morning if you boot that up. But I think that's enough for what you've been playing. Let's move on to some important headlines that sadden me and Nick. I know you can speak to this. Aliens is delayed again. What's up with this, man?
It's disappointing because it seemed like for sure it was going to be coming this spring. They showed it off at E3. They showed it off at PAX. They seemed dead set on releasing it this spring, but I don't know. Maybe it got the fall bug and said, we can't release a big game like this in the spring. It's got to be a fall game. So
maybe that just means Borderlands 2 is coming earlier.
Yeah.
Or
right.
I think more likely it's not coming this year at all.
Yeah.
So
shut up.
I mean, they're working on three big games is going on at Gearbox, and I know they've like grown that studio a lot, but I just don't think it's possible for them to put out more than one a year.
I just want to play a really good Aliens game, and now they made our preview video has errors in it now, thanks to them. So, yeah, that's too bad. That's. Who knows?
Well, what was it? The preview video, the day we like rendered it, something changed and we had to move it. The Starhawk.
Yeah, Starhawk.
Right? We were already launched. We're like, oh, we got to change this. This just got delayed. Like it's never right.
But anyways, that's too bad. Another thing, which I'm actually super excited for because I'm willing to throw more money at it, is Rayman Origins coming to PC with co-op, unlike the Vita. So
yeah. What's with that?
I don't know. I don't know why you wouldn't put co-op on the Vita, especially with 3G capability or even just regular Wi-Fi or ad hoc. But again,
but we added Ghost support.
That's not the same.
Yeah, nobody really.
But you can stroke the back of the console with your fingers and things will happen.
Right. Stroke Rayman's arms, give him a little tickle. But anyways, again, I just hope that gives the game a little more exposure that it deserves, because
the best news about that is no DRM, because Ubisoft's DRM has been horrible up to this point, and they're doing just a key-based DRM kind of a thing on that. So
how's that Hero 6 DRM working for you?
You know what? It turned me off so much that I haven't even fired that up in weeks. I really should go back, but
it's so damn good. It's so good.
I want to. I don't have time though either. That's the other problem.
Yeah, you're busy making games.
I got off the Heroes of Might and Magic games because I started playing King's Bounty.
That's a good transition though.
Yeah, King's Bounty Armored Princess especially was super good. I really loved that game.
I love her armor.
I love how Russian that game is too.
Yeah. Speaking of Russian games, not really, but
you're reaching.
Yeah.
Is this like Russian Attack?
Yes. No, Ib and Ob. Ib and Ob. Jason, what do you know about Ib and Ob?
I mean, like, very little aside from the stuff that they put out there, although I thought the most interesting thing was the original article about Ib and Ob. The developer, is this guy who, Nick, you wrote this up, it's a guy who was making vacuum cleaners and said, you know what, actually, I just want to make games. I don't want to do vacuums anymore. Vacuums suck, man.
Yeah.
Oh, see what you did there.
Let's hope this game doesn't suck.
This podcast is over.
Mike's checking
Have
out.
alarms blaring in the background. Pun alert, pun alert. But the game itself, from what they've shown... Yes.
Nice.
You all are welcome for that.
Thank you.
I did what Nick could not do over the many years of this.
Yeah.
Get rid of Mike.
No.
But anyways, the core gameplay of it, if you saw the video, is basically, there's two characters, Ib and Ob, and the world is split basically down the middle, and so a lot of the mechanics of it are involving kind of going back and forth between the two worlds, so using gravity and physics. The style and everything like that just is really, kind of that reminds me of Yoshi's Island, of the way that it looks, and a little bit of Yoshi's Island mixed with Pixel Junk Eden.
Yeah.
But the gameplay itself, I think that's what I'm really looking forward to, is being able to mess around with a lot of that stuff, and it seems like it's got a lot of charm. Originally, I think it was supposed to drop in January, but it was one of those cases, as with understandably a lot of indie games, they're kind of like, maybe this time.
Yeah.
But
no, the video that they have, I think this is going to be a brain melter with some of the puzzles they have, just because you're crossing over and you're two different characters, especially with two people, and the communication you're going to require is going to be super key. But I'm definitely looking forward to it.
I think kind of like I said, what it reminded me of was some of the puzzles that you do in Portal 2, and having to communicate to that level and degree of time everything. So
yeah,
should be good.
And our final story that you should give a shit about is the something that came something that came out
I'll
of
have to put the explicit tag on this one.
Yes. No, this cool screen, not a tablet, this cool screen called the ePawn Arena that is, I think, it's the first step in digital board gaming, sort of moving from the traditional, pieces and components and board to a more digital interface. And what it is the company's called ePawn, and the product is the ePawn Arena. It's this large screen where it uses some sort of RFID, this specialized RFID that it can track 40 different things on the screen at once. They were demoing pieces, Dungeons and Dragons pieces on it, and I just think that is a really cool step in the direction. They're going to be selling that at the end of the year for about $400, which I think is a really great price when you look at the Microsoft Surface, which is like $13,000 or something stupid. And as much as I'd like to play Settlers of Catan on a $15,000 coffee table, it's just not possible. So the only thing that I worry about with something like this is if they don't have the software to back it up. So if it's not supported by developers, or if it's not supported by actual board games, it's just going to be this large screen that lays on your table. So I'm really hoping that it takes off. They do state that it's super easy to convert your game, and their source development kit is free to license out, or it's free to use, but then they also want to try and license out the technology. So really interested in that, just because I buy and play a ton of board games, and I'd hope to maybe contain them within one. If you could have all the board games loaded on, whether it's your phone or a PC or anything, and just hook it up to the screen, I think that'd be really cool, especially for traveling, because who wants to bring 15 board games in a suitcase?
I was about to say, speaking of Dominion, our friend Pete basically travels with all 15 expansions in the trunk of his car, and he has room for nothing else. So.
That's gross.
He never takes anything else out of that car except his Dominion expansions.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. Right on. Let's move on to our user blog highlight, and this one is by the user Rains, and they write about the best cheap co-op games that you're not playing. And I'm just going to go through a couple of these, and feel free to comment on them. There's a couple, I've played most of them I think, but there's a couple that I haven't. Again, subject to one's opinion. I think Army of Two 40th Day, no matter what anyone says, that's a keeper. So I think that's important. And Nick, didn't you say last week they're making an Army of Two squared, or a 4 or something?
Yeah, that's the rumor.
So
Yep.
When you hear more, you tell us, because I'm all about Lego guns and pop can silencers. So
Gotcha.
That's some hell of a product placement. The Pepsi can on the end of
right
the
on
barrel.
the end. No kidding.
Coat hangers, shoulder stock.
Yeah. Bulletstorm, I honestly didn't play a ton of the Anarchy mode. Anyone touch the Anarchy mode?
I played
Yeah?
a bunch of it. It's pretty good. It's
Mhm.
there's some serious strategy required to get the point totals in the later levels. You really have to work together to make it happen.
Yeah, definitely. EDF, Insect Armageddon. I played a bit of that game.
Yeah,
So-
you got name dropped in the post.
Just a little.
That was your Dark Souls before Dark Souls.
Yeah. No, I went through that with a friend of the site, Sonny, and we killed all the bugs in
All of the bugs.
all of the bugs, I think.
Everyone?
Pretty much.
Everyone. Yeah.
But that was a fun game. It's janky as hell, but that's part of its charm. So
Jason and I have a lot of experience playing the 2017 in co-op.
nice. Yeah, I didn't play a ton of the 2017 just because it was one of the earlier Xbox games, and I didn't get into the Xbox until about a year late. But yeah, I can't Insect Armageddon is a definite co-op play and a buy, so pick that up. Fear 3. There's a ton of isn't there a ton of modes in that?
Yeah. Almost every multiplayer mode is co-op.
Yeah, that's probably like $20 now. So
well, it was $20 on the Steam sale over the weekend, but it's back up to 40.
Yeah, so you got to find a copy of that. Fear 3 was, I think, an underdog for 2011, and could have used a little more exposure. What else we got here? Other things to note: Rayman Origins, of course, need that. It's couch co-op, but still, think if you have a couple friends over, it's definite must play. And again, that's always getting discounted because it didn't move a lot of units. I think it's down to $30 regular now. No reason why you shouldn't play that.
I wonder what Sacred 2 is there. He mentions that. I wonder what the price of that you can get for it, because that's
it's got to be like $5, man.
It's 20 new on the 360. Okay. PC is.
I've got a couple PC copies on my desk.
Yeah, PC is $11. So.
How is that? I never actually got around to playing Sacred 2.
It's okay.
It's got an awesome intro song.
Yeah, pretty awesome Blind Guardian song in it.
Nice.
The co-op is pretty fun. It was one of the earlier games we played for review in Co-Optimus history, and Nick and I infamously we got a preview copy of the game, and we decided that we needed to play it together, but we couldn't get the co-op to work at all, so we actually tried tunneling through like Hamachi.
It was like hardcore.
It was pretty crazy. We didn't end up getting it to work, but damn it, we tried.
The lengths you go to play proper co-op. That's crazy.
Yep.
Yeah, I played a lot of the first one, but I actually didn't touch the second one, so anyways, that's our user blog highlight for the week. Remember, get your blogs, write them down, and hopefully we'll check them out.
We'll talk about it.
Yeah, we'll talk about it, because it does good reminders in there. Moving on to feature discussion. Jason, I think you brought this up. I think it's been discussed, but it's worth hashing out again, because it's a question that a lot of people have, and that is, does multiplayer make RPGs better? And we could actually extend that to every game, and does co-op make every game better? Or is co-op always necessary?
No.
Oh, well, great. Good discussion. Let's wrap it up here.
And let's move on to the
outro.
No, because we're seeing one that comes to mind, and one that's kind of important is Mass Effect in having co-op, being the first two games obviously having been a single player experience, now moving to having co-op, albeit in an additional mode. How do you guys feel about let's say RPGs in general with co-op?
I guess I can say that I was really not a big fan of any RPG where you have a lot of decisions to make about your character and choices that affect the world. I really don't want someone else in my story screwing things up.
Because the last thing that you want is to be able to sit in there talking with another character, and your friends there in the background doing one of these things. That's
it's like the amount of time you spend in menus and tweaking stuff, or just exploring in general. It's not as easy in co-op unless the characters are untethered. But I was gonna say something that actually kind of turned me around recently. Was the Old Republic.
Okay.
Because of the way it handles the Mass Effect style conversations in multiplayer, where everyone in your party is participating in a conversation, right? And you pick your dialogue choices, and rather than simply randomly choose someone to represent it, or rather than one player steering the ship, everyone rolls a dice, and it shows who wins the dice roll, and whoever wins the dice roll, their character steps forward to say the line.
Yeah.
And so, you may have chosen something else, but it's not putting words in your mouth. It's putting words in the mouth of the character that is in your party. And if I choose something that's going to make me, lean towards the light side or towards the dark side, no matter if I lose the roll, I still get the bonus for choosing what I wanted, even if the outcome wasn't what I want. So I think that in a very narrative-based game like Mass Effect, it's going to work a lot better because the combat is very action-oriented, so it lends itself well to co-op.
Yep.
And being able to solve the story problem is pretty cool. But for things like Skyrim, I'm still going to say absolutely not. I don't want anybody else in that world with me because I want to break everything on my own.
Well, and so to go along with that then too, I mean, I'm also on the no side of this debate because for Mike was telling me about the whole thing with the Old Republic, and so my question was, okay, fine, you still get the bonus points and the conversation goes a different way. What happens at the next conversation breaking point where the guy's like all chummy with you, and the next guy picks a dark side option, is like, well, I'm going to force lightning you now, and like it's a split conversation. It can be that sort of split of things where it's a good median solution to allow people to make those choices, and then the whole party has input and they all get their credit as appropriate, but it still feels split at some point there. And for Mass Effect, sorry, go ahead.
I'm going to disagree with that. I think it feels like they handled it really well. If there is an option to electrify somebody that doesn't get chosen, it doesn't pop back up again.
Well, no, but you see what I'm saying? Like, if there's branching points in the conversation where all of a sudden it takes a different turn, doesn't that feel a little jarring?
No, I played 60 hours of that game, much of it in a party, and I never felt like that. It doesn't ever. If there's a huge decision to be made, it doesn't really allow itself to fall into the trap that you just described.
If you're playing co-op, the trend is you're going to be doing stuff, working together, working towards a common thing. So your decisions, most times, 9 times out of 10, are going to be very similar, right?
Right.
You're not going to if you're playing polar opposites in the co-op game, the whole thing it's going to have like a bad buddy cop kind of vibe or something to it. I don't know. That's just how it's going to play out, but.
Yeah.
I don't see. It's almost like a co-op RPG is almost like a subgenre in itself and how it plays. Like some people will like to play it where they're the character, they make all the decisions and stuff, and other people are perfectly happy just tagging along, which we've seen with like crap with like Fable and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Where they kind of have this, and for some people like they don't need to get into it much. They just want to experience the action and stuff, and that's good enough for them.
I think the MMO space is what is probably the best place to spot an RPG that does co-op well. I mean, the systems are designed for synergy between the characters and their abilities, and then in the more hardcore ones you have abilities that complement everybody else to the point where it's almost necessary to have a good party makeup.
Yeah.
I mean, you can go back to one of the most hardcore RPGs in our lifetime with Baldur's Gate.
Yeah, I've had co-op.
Yeah.
Right. And basically what that did, it was kind of like what I just said. The people tug along as a support character, not their own character, as one of the characters in the in the party in the game within the story.
Yeah, it was still your story.
Yeah.
But and I think I don't know how you guys feel, but I think a more story-driven game is harder to do with co-op people coming in, because even with the Baldur's Gate example, you look to something like Icewind Dale, which is more of a sort of let's just hop into a dungeon and slay stuff. It's you're not missing anything by having people with you, but I still think there's a place for it, even in an RPG, in a story-driven game, because you can have beautiful. I love it. Because you can still have, I think, a co-op experience with people that, people that are with you there almost creates your own story within the game. And I think with Mass Effect, I'm still kind of on the fence. I'm curious to see how it works. I'm very interested to, I know it's a separate sort of campaign, but I'm very interested to see what Two Worlds 2 does. I still haven't played it yet, but especially with 8 characters, like what the hell's
Yeah.
going on with that?
But the one thing is, kind of as you guys have touched upon, is RPGs as a whole is a very wide and broad genre.
Oh, for sure.
You know, MMOs is one thing, action RPGs, which Mass Effect definitely is falling more into.
Oh, for sure.
Is easier to do, I think. With I mean, like I think that I'm looking forward to the multiplayer co-op mode in Mass Effect 3 because from the trailers and everything, it seems like a really fun thing. At the same time, it also seems like co-op in a Gears of War game with RPG elements.
Right.
So less towards the, like you're playing through The Witcher right now. Imagine playing through The Witcher with, this random character tossed in as a co-op buddy who has to sit there and wait while you make all your potions, or they too have to sit there and make all
watch
their
while
potions.
you bet every NPC in the game.
That's right.
You sit there. You will watch me.
From the
I will
corner.
show you co-op in an RPG done right, and it is.
What is that?
This.
Yeah, I mean it's
That's the classic, yeah.
Diablo? Diablo? Never. Yeah, exactly. And that's what it comes down to. And what are the characteristics of Diablo? It's fast. You can hit a sell all button, like you're not spending tons of time in the menus. And the times where you are in menus, other people can go and do stuff. They can leave you in town. You're not tethered at all. So I think that's super important to keep things flowing. Otherwise, you waste a lot of time. RPGs are a long game. Like, they're a long genre already. You don't want to spend more time just sitting and waiting. And
You're absolutely right. But at the same time, how many times have you got frustrated with a friend because they went ahead of you and they killed something? They're just like, oh, by the way, this dropped.
Oh, it's terrible.
And it's right.
It's terrible for sure. But I'm just saying, like, it gives you the ability to say, no, guys, go ahead. I'm going to miss this one while I'm organizing my skill tree or this or that, right? It's just...
Diablo 3 actually solves that problem pretty well. The player leaving you behind, where you can actually set your quest progression to a certain stage and start a new game and start an instance of a game. So I've gone and beaten Act 1, but I want to do that content again, or my friend wants to see it, so I can revert my character to that point. I still have all the stuff and all the progression, but it'll let me repeat the story content and bring other players in. I think it's really smart.
Yeah, that's super nice, because what's more annoying than, you get past the threshold point and you're like, sorry, I'm on Act 2, I can't join you. That Dark Souls has a weird way of dealing with that, and I won't go into the Dark Souls multiplayer too much, but, once you get past, bad omens when I talk about Dark Souls.
Remember when I was talking about podcasts?
Yeah, podcasts.
There we go.
When you finish a boss in Dark Souls, you can't summon anyone there, and that's kind of, it forces you along, but you can still go back and finish. You can still go back and help people. Damn your podcat. Rooting me. That's interesting.
No, sir. Damn us.
I think we're really kind of like on a cusp of some really like breakthrough kind of things with co-op RPGs, and Mike touched on it with Old Republic. It's really just kind of showing what you could really do with a good co-op RPG, and I think someone can take the ideas in that and make a game like an RPG literally built around co-op. And the decisions everyone makes is how it moves the whole thing forward. I mean, that in itself is like, it's realistic.
You know what game did that?
What's that?
You know what game did that?
What's that?
Army of Two 40th Day.
But it's not an RPG.
Yeah, it kind of did, right? So both people, they had to make some kind of important decision together. And whatever that was the decision that changed the course of the story. You know who's going to have a field day with this if he finally decides to like really do it? Would be Peter Molyneux, right? I mean, this is kind of like what he's always been going for with the single player thing, and he's kind of touched on it a little bit in co-op. And if he just has a bender one night and just decides to like start scratching some stuff on napkins, this is what he'll come up with.
Like, I have this idea where 4 brains come together.
No, yeah, the fake Peter Molyneux account was on Twitter was the best thing.
It's very
ever.
good.
Yeah.
But to kind of draw this back, because we talked about a lot of different examples. Core question is still, does co-op make RPGs better, or even broadening out, does it make games better?
I don't think it.
Not always.
Not always.
I don't think it hurts it. I think you guys. Some people were arguing that it could hurt it, and I don't think it does. It only hurts it if you let it. it only hurts if you let the other person hurt it for you. But if you're have a good co-op partner and you guys both go into it, wanting to do a common goal, it's gonna be a better experience.
Yeah, for sure. I'll agree with that for sure. I think there's still some, things. There's definitely co-op and tacked on to some games. Like I felt Uncharted still has some tacked on co-op, in the sense that you still can't play through the story. You play these separate missions, which is fun. Like it's fun to do with friends, but why wouldn't you allow that to happen? But I don't know.
And I would say, as much as I love the Uncharted series, that multiplayer, co-op included in that actually hurt the main game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But no, I think Nick's right. Like it's if you have a good partner, it's gonna make it awesome. Because no matter what game, and I'll stand by it. Like no matter what you're playing, it can be a really crappy game. If you have a good partner or a good crew to roll with, it's going to be hilarious. It's going to be fun. You're going to have stories to tell about it.
Yeah.
And that's what it's all about.
Heck, I've played through many single player RPGs in co-op, basically.
We all know who Mike's partner is.
We're going to slay the dragon, aren't we, Mr. Bojangles?
My cat's name is Mogwai, thank you.
Mogwai. Sha-ra-ho, foo!
Is my cat's gonna go Fusroda?
Yeah.
He pretty much does a lot of the time.
What?
At least he's not talking right now.
What do you mean
purred, which is a rarity.
What do you mean, Nick, by playing single player co-op?
So one of my all-time favorite experiences growing up was meeting my best buddy, and we played Phantasy Star 2.
Okay.
Right, and basically
Hot
what we did is we alternated like every half hour, and
okay.
we would just talk through decisions and stuff when stuff would come up. Should we buy this weapon or should I buy that weapon? And it would basically, we co-op the game. It's a single player game. Only one person can have the controller, but
I like that.
One person would drive and another person would help along. In that game, read the freaking maps, because without the maps you were done.
You're
it's
navigator
shipped with the map book. Yeah.
I did that a few times with Final Fantasy 2 and 3 on the Super Nintendo, because you could plug in a second controller and let someone take control of every other character.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't. I guess technically it was co-op, and we get some people every now and then asking us to put those games in our database. But it's just it's. I hesitate to say that that's true co-op, but it's very fun.
Because the second the other person's gone, you're just like, "What'd you do to my equipment?"
Well, and if you get to a certain point in the game, it's like you're all either mashing attack or you're casting quick and then ultima twice in like Final Fantasy 3 or something, and there's not really much. At that point, it's just two people putting in the inputs that one person would have been doing. So
yeah.
The single player thing that you're describing, Nick, remind me of a time when this was crazy, but we were doing Dr. Mario Versus, and we only had 2 controllers, for 4 people. So what we did was one person controlled half the controller and another person controlled the other half. And it was the most insane thing, because one person was in charge of like turning it, the other person was in charge of dropping the pills.
Oh, wow.
So that was like making co-op out of something that was competitive, had no co-op mode to it, and it was a blast. Like we had an absolute great time doing that.
That's crazy.
Mike is a cat.
I think that's why our Co-Optimus exists, and it's always cool to see how co-op evolves throughout different genres and different games, and I'm so curious to see what Mass Effect does with it, because at first I wasn't convinced, but then after you give orders and play through Mass Effect 2, especially Mass Effect 2 because it's more action oriented, I'm pretty stoked to see how that comes around and how that affects, because Mass Effect's going to be a big-ass game. We all know it. It's going to move a ton of copies, and people are going to look at that and say, hey, what we can actually do, this co-op for our RPG or even other games. So, very curious.
I'm going to have to buy 2 copies of that game just to play co-op with people. I know I am, because I'm going to buy one for the PC and one to continue my story that I've been going, and one for the 360. Yeah. But I think
I'm actually not getting the PC version of it this time, and I have for all of them so far.
How come?
I own both copies of all the games, and I'm not getting the PC one this time because screw Origin.
You have the hate on.
No.
But
It's a
I
Battlefield 3 launcher, not a store.
I do think BioWare. I mean, it was good to kind of the article came out of an interview with the founders from BioWare and them talking about how, that multiplayer they're very broad and kind of vague in their definition, but multiplayer makes games better. But they also raise what is the best point of all, that it can't be tacked on. It has to be thought out and fully implemented into the game. So I think BioWare is going to be one of those companies, as we talk about innovations in co-op and what's going forward between Old Republic and Mass Effect 3. I think they're definitely going to be one of the companies to watch for some of those coming out.
I'm just trying to think if there's any other huge releases coming up here in the next little bit that I go look at our video. But cool. Anyways, any closing thoughts on the RPGs, or does multiplayer / co-op make a game better? Otherwise, we can leave it at that. I'm cool.
I think we covered it pretty well.
Yeah, that's good. Good topic. I like that. All right. Well, let's wrap this bad boy up. Remember that we have Windows Phone 7 and Android apps. Go get those. They're beautiful. Nick, any word on the shirts? Buy them. Put an order in.
You know what? I haven't looked actually. I usually check it in, but I forgot to. I think one of them did sell out. I think the Revolution one sold out. So
nice.
Right on. So yeah, you can grab those from our Split Reason store. Please leave. Hey, that's what they look like. Those are the Revolution stickers there.
Yeah, just like that.
So you can, if you missed a chance to grab that, just buy a red shirt, get a sticker, throw it on there, and you're good to go.
Yeah,
sounds
pretty
much.
Great.
Please, everyone, make sure to leave feedback on iTunes. Rate us, let us know what you think, and tell your friends. Help us grow.
Send topic ideas if there's things you guys want to hear us talk about.
That's right. We
should rejuvenate the oft unused Co-Opticast portion of the Co-Optimus forums.
Yes.
So we started using them for a while, and then we stopped using them.
Oh, we'll get them. We'll breathe some.
And that one's on me because I wanted them, and then I stopped using them.
Well, we'll see. I'll inject some new blood in there. And as always, follow us on Twitter at Co-Optimus, all one word. And yeah, if you want to chat, want us to answer a question, or just give us a pro tip, who knows? Leave us a voicemail, 646-926-6748, toll free. Well, charges apply where applicable.
Don't lie.
I don't know.
Toll free if you live in the 646 area code.
When I have to call that number, I have to send like a tin can on a dog sled out, and then it attaches somewhere at the border. But yeah, no, great show, guys, and.
You want to mention that this should be up on YouTube. Last time we talked about it, but this time it looks like it's going to happen.
That's right. I did lie last week in saying it was going to be on YouTube, but the video did not have Nick in it, which is unacceptable. I was ready to put it on, but Nick was like, you know what?
I didn't say anything. Whatever. I don't care.
We
Nick
came up with a
changed
lot
the
of
password on the
ideas.
YouTube account until you agreed to not post the video.
Right. No, it didn't have a proper video feed, so it was also a trial run, but excited to get that up on YouTube. So if you're listening to this on iTunes, there is also a YouTube version up. As long as I get that.
So you can see our beautiful faces.
Yes, especially this guy and that guy and everyone around me.
One of these days we have to do a Brady Bunch thing.
These guys,
these guys. We'll see where they go. So yeah,
and my beautiful cat.
And Fora Mogwai. Cool. Any parting words, gentlemen, before I close out the show?
I have to pee.
No.
You have to pee. All right. Well,
I need another beer.
All right. So Mike's getting some beer, Nick's peeing, and Jason is going to
go to bed.
He's going to bed. Again, on behalf of the Co-Optimus crew, Jason, Mike, Nick, and myself, thank you again for listening and watching, and we will catch you guys in a couple weeks.
Peace.